All right, hi everybody. Welcome back to the ID Additives YouTube page. If you have not subscribed, hit the subscribe button below. Today we are going to be doing an interview with the ID Additives Tech Managers. So below me we have Ron Bishop with Foaming Agent. Say hi, Ron.
Hey.
We have Dave Denzel with Purge. And then Ryan Whitaker with Eco Pro. Okay, let's jump right into it. Got some questions today to start a little discussion. Ron, we're going to start with you. So I think with foaming agents, there's a lot of misconceptions, a lot of false information. So Ron, can you maybe touch on that? What are some of the biggest misconceptions with foaming agent?
Well, back in the day, no one really could do any aesthetic molding. So the cosmetics was always an issue. And so even people that's been foaming in the past, you know, when you bring up foaming agents, they automatically think, oh, the part's going to look ugly, it's going to look splayed. But that's not necessarily true anymore. You know, thanks to our microfine cell, we do high gloss, Class A surfaces, no splay whatsoever. We're still hitting, depending on machine capability, but we're hitting around 10% density and 12 to 15% on the cycle. So I think if people used it in the past, I think they really need to look at it again because, you know, technology changed. I don't think people understand what that foam does, how to control it, how to process it correctly, and how to get the most out of it. And that there's a lot of variables involved there, but that's why we're here.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. That is why unmatched technical support for innovative products, right?
Yes.
So I don't know if you really touched on this, but does it take away from the strength of the part when you use foaming agents? Because I think that's a big concern you hear from customers as they're working.
Yeah, usually when I talk to people, in some applications, Carolyn, it actually enhances the impact properties. But like that's in structural foam multi-nozzle, when they're using nitrogen, you know, you always want to use some chemical to beef up the strength of the part. But when it comes to injection molding, like any filler, and that's what foaming agent is, it's a filler. Like any filler, if you go too far with it, it's going to affect the structural integrity and impact. So you want to kind of know what your max is and what your low limit is, your high limit and low limit. So when you do foam it, we can bring that down into a comfortable within spec with a comfortable level and still hold its impact and its form and function. So things have changed, the process has changed, and people just don't understand how cool this stuff can be in their process.
Yeah, I definitely, when I'm talking to customers at trade shows, I think that a lot, like you said, a lot has changed with foaming agent, and that we need to, you know, educate people that it really can benefit your process. And what are some other benefits of foaming agent in general of using them?
Well, what we've seen, and we've worked with Sumitomo Demag on some testing, we got some really good data on that. What we've seen is we were able to, in the first test, take 10% energy out. On the second test, we hit 18% energy reduction. And that has to do with how the foam is performing in your barrel and screw. And that's why process is so important. If you optimize the foam, just because a part is splayed doesn't necessarily mean it's foam. When you cut it open and you see a nice cell structure, that's a fully foamed part. I don't know how to tell people how cool this product can be and how many times we've seen some amazing results that continue to surprise me on my tests. So we look forward to any foam test.
Definitely. Well, awesome, Ron. So after we run product through the machine and get our part, after we purge. So we're going to move on to Dave. So Dave, why is purging important? Why do you purge your machines?
Well, with most processors and most people, they want to cut down on their scrap. That's probably the biggest issue on there. For every bad part that is run, that's a lost sale to somebody. For instance, if you have a door panel, that might cost somewhere from $20 to $30. just for that one door panel. And so the idea is to reduce that scrap down, so you're not getting 20 bad parts from a color change going from a black to white. You'd like to get it down to less than 5, so you're not wasting all that scrap that's in between there. Another advantage of it is that it also helps eliminate buildup on your screw and barrel, and which will also help in reducing and eliminating your downtime, and also reducing and increasing your machine utilization, so you can possibly get another job onto that machine and run more parts on that, so you're not wasting time. And you know, with the ID Purge, you can also it works with any resin. So maybe you can get it down so you only need one purge compound. We'll work on whatever resin you might be running, and there's no harsh chemicals. And I think that's a very important aspect, because you don't want to have too much, you don't want to have too much steam out. You don't want to have people complaining on the floor about a purge compound that might be coming out there. And that's usually a health issue, usually comes up, it seems like, when you're in there. So it's very important that the purge compound is actually health conscious, especially in this day and age right now, with what's going on.
Yeah, definitely. So you said, that with the ID Purge, it works with all resins, so you can use one kind of purge, but we have multiple different kinds. So does it really matter what kind of purge you're putting through your machines, or does it matter,
Well, it does depend on probably the method being used, probably the materials that you are purging out. You have some materials that are considered amorphous. You got some that are considered semi-crystalline. So it depends on the type of material that you might be running. You got some, especially in the automotive, you run a lot of polypro, you run a lot of TPO, and then you're also running a lot of your nylons. And so when it comes to nylon, for instance, you might need a product that needs to clean out a little bit better. So we might use a grade that might be more aggressive than what we might use when it comes to your polypros and TPOs that might not have a filler in it and such. And it does depend on the machine and the hot runner system that the processor might be also running as well. So it does make a little bit of difference. And but with the proper training, the supplier can actually, CPC supplier can actually recommend what grade would be best for their application. And training is a big thing when it comes to using the purge compound properly.
Yeah, and I also think with foaming agents too, I just think knowing the process, knowing the product, and getting the training on that really maximizes your results. So with Purge, can you purge during production? How I understand Purge is we run, we shut down, we clean out, restart. So can you maybe touch on that?
There might be some methods that you might be able to purge. Many of the purge compounds you actually have to shut down for a short time. But during production, though, if you might starting to see an issue with a part, for instance, with black specks or some sort of other contamination that might be going on, you might have to shut down just for a short time, just to purge, just maybe to drop in, a quick shot or something like that, just to get something running through the system real quick, get that contaminant out, and then you can get right back into production right away. And with the proper preventive maintenance program, though, they might be able to realize, the processor will realize on when a contamination might start occurring, and maybe they can drop it in between shifts, for instance. I've seen where some people have actually shut down after every 8 hours just for a short time, drop in some purge compound, get that cleaned out, just so the next shift can get in onto the job. But I think using the ID quick shops though is definitely a way to go, where you can just keep your production running as fast as and get it up and running again as fast as you can. So it minimizes the downtime.
Very good. So the last question I kind of want to touch on with you is there's a lot of talk on social media about hot runners. I think it's a really big question. Can you purge through a hot runner? What are your tips?
You can definitely purge through a hot runner, and there might be some instances you might have to raise the heats up a little bit higher before you start to purge, depending on the size of the hot runner tip that you might be purging through. And but it definitely, the screw and barrel is it is easy to clean out. Hot runners and manifolds can be pretty difficult to clean out. So if you can, the more you can keep those cleaned out, the better that you might have, or the better advantage you might have in getting good parts. More prevalent anyways. You're going to get a lot more good parts if you can keep that hot runner cleaned out. It can be hard to clean out at times. You might have multiple gates in there. You got caps and closures, could have as many as, anywhere from 64 to 120 gates that might be coming out of there. So using a good purge compound, again, they're using the quick shots. That might be something that the processors might like to use, just to get those cleaned out as fast as they can and get on with their production. But yeah, definitely hot purge, good purge compound through a hot runner system is key to getting good parts.
All right. Well, Dave gave us now his tips on purge. So we ran the foaming agent through, we purged up our machines, and now we are down to our mold maintenance. So Brian, I am going to ask you the first question here. The big question: why should you clean your tools and flush out, cooling passages, heat exchangers, things like that? Why even bother with maintenance at all?
Well, machines aren't cheap. Tooling's not cheap. Everybody's looking at their bottom dollar. And I'm willing to bet that if a lot of guys looked at their cost reports, they'd find out that the tool room is probably in the top 3 areas where they spend the most money. So it's important that you maintain the tools that help you produce and keep you in production and your customers happy. Not to mention that you spend a lot of money on it. You maintain your car at home because you spend a lot of money on your car. So you should think of your tools the same way. So it often gets overlooked. A lot of guys are in a firefighting culture where you might walk in one day as a tooling engineer or a maintenance worker and get thrown something at you completely different than what you thought you might start your day with. Or you might have a customer call and say, hey, I got to have 50,000 of these parts, and they're your number one customer. You're not going to tell them no. So things change on the fly. So you need to be able to utilize your downtime, if you will, and properly maintain your tools and whatnot. Heat transfer is a big deal. I might get a call from Ron when he's like, hey man, the foam is doing okay, but I've seen it perform 10 times better. And he might go talk over to the tooling guy and get him on the phone with me and say, hey, you might want to talk to him about his current practices to see if, maybe he's not getting the cooling that he should be. A lot of facilities, they don't take into consideration the Reynolds number. There's plenty of calculators online. Some guys just might say, you know what, let's just crank down the temps and run colder water through it to get a colder part. That's not necessarily going to fix your issues. So it does play a role in heat transfer. That's going to help you make better parts. That's going to help everything down line. So it's a very vital component that I think often gets overlooked.
Yeah, so you said that you talked to a lot of tool room maintenance managers. When you're talking to them, what do you think is your biggest advice for them about tool maintenance in general?
Oh, so many tips and tricks. It kind of just depends on where you're at. in your tool shop. Now is a perfect time with everything going on, obviously working remotely, whatnot for a lot of us. If you're not at capacity on your production lines, now is a great time to start cleaning out your tools. A lot of companies offer free samples. They want you to try their stuff. They want you to see how it works. Now's a great time to evaluate those products. So you kind of just need to, I mean, the biggest advice that I can give is take a step back. What's your biggest headache? You know, what happens, or when you go into your shop, something might happen. What makes you like roll your eyes the biggest? What is like, oh my God, like that customer called, like that tool sucks to run. You know, if that's your biggest headache, you know, go attack it now. So there's just various things that you can do, but preventative maintenance, whether it's with Purge or chemical cleaning compound within your cooling passage, seat exchangers, chill rolls, anything of that nature, it's all vital. So that'd be my biggest advice.
So Dave touched on the ID Purge and how it's, you know, FDA compliant and environmentally safe. What are some of the safety features of the Eco Pro? You kind of touched on trying different things, but there are a lot of chemicals out there that are used for cleaning that aren't necessarily the most safe. So what are the features of the Eco Pro?
It's been EPA tested and verified. I'll be quite frank, we're not going to get an FDA cert on it like many of our other products, and that's simply because the inventor's not giving up 7% of the chemical composition as a trade secret. So you can't really fault the guy there. But you know, I work with it without any gloves. I do wear glasses. I recommend that you do that, but it's 85% water. So a lot of chemicals out there, you have to wear the full PPE. You have to put on the gloves, the apron, a face shield. After you use it once or twice, then you have to neutralize it before you're even able to dispose of it as a hazardous chemical. Whereas the Eco Pro, we want you to be able to reuse it in a safe manner. So you can filter it out and continue to reuse it. That way you're not having to worry about disposing of it as hazardous waste, which it would not be if you ever needed to dispose of it. But there's only a couple other chemicals that I found on the market that are safe and effective. You know, a lot of guys are used to muriatic acid, and I'm sure if anybody's watching this or listening to it probably just rolled their eyes and went, ugh, muriatic acid, like it's no fun. So it is quite safe. Like I mentioned, as many of our other products are generally recognized as safe, you know, the purging compounds, the foaming agents, and things of that nature. But Carolyn, you mentioned earlier our YouTube channel. We have plenty of videos online that go over, you know, our quick shots, our foaming agents, and ton of videos out there with me working with the chemical itself and how safe it is to use.
Very great. Okay, awesome, guys. Well, I am at the end of my questions. Is there any last minute comments, anything that anybody heard that they want to touch on?
Well, I just want everybody to know that, you know, we do remote testing. I just finished up remote test. These guys are going to purchase our product. It was an extrusion trial. Actually, they had trouble running this part. It was a PVC part, and they had trouble running it, period, when they dropped our product in. And of course, I was there at the machine without being there. They had the best looking part they've seen. They got to do a little dye work, but it's a brand new project. So, you know, we do Skype, FaceTime, WhatsApp, and now we introduce Zoom. So I just want everybody to know we can be there without actually being there. And I've done many trials and been very, very successful at it. So just want everybody to know, you know, we're remote and we support our products.
This is another reason why I wanted to get you all on Zoom, to show our followers that we're here. We're here to help you during these times. Like Ron said, we can remote in, and it's like we're at your trial, you know, with all of our knowledge as a team. So awesome. Well, now I'm going to open it up also to our followers. If after you watch this video you have any other questions, please comment below, or you can contact us. Our contact information will be below. Let us know your questions. We will be hopping on here again with our tech managers and answering all your questions. So, and also make sure to hit the subscribe button. All right, guys, thank you so much. We'll talk.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
All right,
Have a good one.
thanks.